people will even bother to go to a state assembly. But that's where your women are getting beaten. That's where the gender bias, it's not in Abuja in the National Assembly, as important as it is. It's the local buy-in to the treaties and the agreements that we sign to get the laws changed so that you work your way up. And to stop always looking from top down. We agree in the UN, but when we come home, we need to own it so that it is sustainable. I've seen many pushbacks against rights today, human rights in the Charter that we all agreed to decades ago, but we're pushing back against them. Why? Because there's a lack of ownership. And when there's a lack of ownership, then we will see this tested over time. And so I think lots, again, more work for you to do as you try to make that glass half full. What can you do in the state assemblies? A strong state assembly voice has much more strength at the federal level than just us doing that. But for the UN, we're listening now, and I think we have to open up more spaces. We have to put more light on those countries that are not fulfilling their obligations. We have to share best practice, and perhaps to scale that up a little bit more. And
quality education is one of the 17 goals that make up the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, developed by the United Nations. Goal 4 of the UN targets highlights education as one of the most powerful and proven vehicles for sustainable development, aimed at achieving inclusive and quality education for all. Now, the goal is to ensure that every boy or girl completes free primary and secondary education.
Achieving universal primary education in Nigeria is one target that has faced several challenges over the years. The challenges range from inadequate infrastructure to low quality of teachers and teaching aids. Added to this is the issue of the rising number of out-of-school children. High levels of poverty, armed conflicts, and other emergencies have given room for more children to drop out of school, especially in the Northeast. Ongoing armed conflict and insurgency in that part of the country has seen an increase in the number of out-of-school children. According to the United Nations Children's Fund, 10.5 million children are not in primary school. Although it's free and compulsory, while the northern part of the country accounts for 8 million out-of-school children, the three worst hit states by insurgency in the northeast account for 2.8 million children in need of education and emergency support.
Whatsoever data you choose to go with, 10.5 million, 13.2 million, or 12 million out-of-school children, we have an out-of-school children problem, which is one of the reasons why the Sustainable Development Goals in the first place was supposed to check. But currently, the amount we have of children out of school is whooping.
We must do everything humanly possible, everything politically possible, every movement we can make to ensure that all our children all over Nigeria, in the rural community, in the riverine areas, must return to school.
So what should be done to address the challenges in the sector?
There's a need for us to have policies that ensures that every child must be in school. Every child must, emphasis on the word must, be in school for us to be able to achieve sustainable goals. And another thing we really do not talk about is the learning outcomes. When children go to school, what do they learn?
It is difficult to meet the quality because the ingredients of quality promotion are not available. Visit our schools. What do you see? The dilapidated structures. We don't have aids for teaching and learning. We don't have conducive environments. Even the teachers are not given regular training.
The federal government's strategic plan for the education sector seeks to check exclusion from school through targeted funding that will address the impediments to the attainment of universal primary education.
Only education has the power to sustainably change society's behavior as necessitated by the challenge of global warming.
For the United Nations Children's Fund, government must prioritize education, target children who are least likely to receive an education, and develop a plan to address the systematic barriers that hinder the implementation of effective education strategy. What the relevant authorities will do to address these challenges will determine how far the country will go in meeting the UN target on education by 2030.